with another one. Atas, number 18. You know it's your
Cross.
boy, Ace, Cross Culture. You know, we got the intros up. Let's put that thing on the screen. Ace of Cross Culture here. Hitting it again for Atas. My co-host right here. Go ahead, introduce yourself for the people.
It's your boy Tipsy Japan back with another episode of
Mm.
Atas across time and space. Woo!
Cross time and
Woo!
space. Woo,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Doing it
Full
again.
volume in your ears. That sweet music. Let's go.
New flavor in your ears.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Feels good to be back. It's been a week. A lot has happened. We'll start with a
Sorry
little
about that.
recap.
Got a little feedback. All right.
We got to feed the people, man.
We got to feed the people.
This is what they're here for. Yes. Thank you to our listeners. We have a wide variety of people listening in now. You're in different places, different walks of life, different nationalities, different sexes, different. Everything seems different, but you know what? The message is the same, and we're sending it out to you. Okay. ありがとうございます。聞いていただいて。ご視聴ありがとうございます。まあ、もし Spotify で聞いてるなら、Spotify で、聞いてくれてありがとう。YouTube なら、まあ、見て、聞いて、感じてくれてありがとうございます。Brozaimas.
So whether you're listening live on YouTube, we thank you. And if you catching this on the podcast through Spotify or Anchor, we appreciate you listening in. I had to translate just a little bit because, not everybody can speak Japanese.
But some of our listeners that are not native English speakers, they'd like to understand, what's the conversation, what's going on with Sensei and in America. Okay, so I'm going to make a point to be clear. You make a point, listener, to turn on the subtitles. Subtitle. Let's get the more iyo. All right. 何回も聞いてもいいよ。ありがとう. Thank you.
I don't know if the subtitles would actually be a thing because I know that with some YouTube videos you have to specifically state that you want subtitles and it'll auto generate. So if that's the case, I apologize. Women aside, if they're not on my channel. It's something I might have to look into.
I mean, they've worked in the past. Don't worry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I turn on the subtitles when I'm playing when I'm reviewing what we talked about. I put it on the TV downstairs and press that CC button in the top right corner on this side. And, yeah, that's all it takes. It's in the top.
If you're on your mobile device, though, it'll be somewhere down there. Actually, it'll be on your side. So hold on, let me. Just for demonstration's sake, it'll be somewhere down there. Once you tap the video, it'll be down there.
Not further over. Like
maybe somewhere over here.
Next to Sonic. There you go.
Let me switch that back. Oh man. All right. So this was Sapiens chapter, what's it, 6 or 8? See, I sometimes get lost and I'm just like listening to it. Just like, it's another chapter. Mm-hmm. So what chapter did we?
You touched on 5 before. So we on 6.
Okay, so we on 6. All right. Again, a little bit lost,
Mm-hmm.
But
so a little review and then moving into the next.
Yeah.
On to the next.
This was a very deep chapter, and it broke the trend of me not disagreeing with things that were said. So I did get a little not really upset, not really uncomfortable, but it rubbed me the wrong way a little bit.
What which
Uh,
what perturbed you? I wonder if it's the same thing.
I mean, we're gonna have to talk about it. We're gonna have to talk about it.
Mm.
We're gonna get into it, but
Mhm.
I just find it funny because the author actually wrote in part. He was saying, "Oh, and if you heard this just now, you probably squirmed in your seat a little bit." I was like, "Oh, come on, you can't be doing
Mm.
stuff like that,
All
breaking
right.
the fourth page. Not even
Hmm.
the fourth wall.
Yeah.
It's not even a TV show." All right.
What do you say? What do you
But
say? Tell the people because some
ah,
of them might not have
we're,
done
we,
their
we're gonna
homework.
get into it. We're gonna get into it. Like I
Oh,
have it on a note.
oh,
It's there.
okay.
We're gonna work
Okay.
up to that point.
All right. All right.
I don't want to jump too far ahead. I just wanted to let you know a little bit of foreshadowing. It's coming. It's
Yeah.
coming. Right.
Ready. I want to do it now.
So
I want to do it now.
impatient kids. No.
Restless.
So the first subtitle I want to get into, or subcontextual topic,
Mm-hmm.
is the things that bind us.
Mm.
It's pretty easy to look at our differences.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up, that's one of the Freudian levels of development.
Mm.
The difference between sexes.
Okay.
So a boy meets a girl and stops seeing her as just a child, but
Mm.
oh, there's differences between me and her.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to highlight the things that bind us because so often we're looking at the things that differentiate us from
Mm-hmm.
others. So
Okay.
what are some of these things in your life that you feel like across time and space
Mm-hmm.
bind you to other peoples, of other places, times,
Mm.
spaces?
Mm. Mm. Um, one is church. I
Okay.
think of the relationships that I have outside of just my family, which is, I think we have a special case with our family in particular because it's so big, you know, and maybe that's, maybe it's not as rare as I think it is, but nowadays, families aren't as big, it's like two or three kids at most.
Mm,
Um, and, mom and dad only had two or three brothers and sisters. So, it's this kind of small network and the necessity to build, with people in your community, or like a need to feel more connected to people in your community, I think.
mm,
Um, my mother would say that when she was growing up, you know, like, yeah, she had her brothers and sisters. Bam. That's what you need, and I
mm,
got cousins that say the same thing, ain't nothing like family. Family's gonna have your back where all those, other people don't.
mhm,
So um I'd say like the primary like connection that binded us, was like blood. But the next layer would be that spiritual community we call the church.
yeah.
There was a speaker I was listening to just the other day that was just, he's talking about how he used to be an atheist. See if we can bring that up. Okay. Um, yeah, I just want to maybe give a shout out to that speaker, but he was saying how he was an atheist, but um, his his understanding of how the church is this like place where people discuss their values and um, their core, you know, basic ideas and beliefs, or at least reflect on it. Like having a place to reflect on that among people in your community is something that society needs. Society has had that, and in the absence of that, the American family and the American, core middle age, uh, group of people, like that population is really struggling right now. Things seem like they're just falling apart, and society is getting out of hand um, because they don't have that thing that binds people together and makes them think about what's the most important.
Hmm.
So yeah, the church did that for me when I was growing up. My best friend, best man in the marriage, met him through church. Bong, you know.
Too true.
Uh,
Too true.
First girlfriend, she made that through church too. You know. Yeah, I mean, we was all kids running around, acting up, and yeah, I mean, I think I had my first like cognizant, like I'm going to kiss this person. Like, yeah, that
In
happened
church.
on the church grounds.
Oh,
On the
just
church
wow.
grounds.
Oh no.
I hadn't made a shout. I don't mean put anybody else out there, but yeah, I remember my first kiss, and it was that was my first kiss from myself, and it was in the parking lot, and
Oh,
it is what it is, like that.
in the parking lot.
Yeah, but that those are the things that bind us,
Hmm.
church was that place, and if kids don't have that place now, or if that place is somewhere else, I feel most most safe, if church is that place and it's right down the street, and I know who's in charge there. I
Mhm.
know that they're not going to be, like a weirdo or something like that. Uh, yeah, I mean,
Yo,
you
weirdos
know,
beware.
weirdos beware. Don't be at the church, please. All right. Yeah. How about yourself? What are the things that bind your us's?
Oh man. So you're talking more about like common shared experience, and
That's
that's
exactly what I'm talking about.
yeah, it's pretty serious. Like I can remember my first kiss.
Mm,
I can remember my first time being an altar boy. You
hmm.
know, in the Catholic Church, and I feel like my time in a church has molded me way more
Yeah.
than my first kiss. But my first kiss wasn't until like my senior year in high school.
Okay.
So the church has been there longer than I've been
Mm.
kissing. Um, but
Yeah.
it's true. It's because if you look at any religion, you look at any
Hmm.
religion, you have the local, and then you have the area. So
Hmm.
your local church or
Right.
place of worship, and then you have the area that might include maybe five more churches, or
Mm.
depending on how big it is, the
Hmm.
what is it, the the diocese for the Catholic churches can encompass more than a few churches. So you got sister churches, brother churches, that all kind of work together. They, oh, we're having a
Hmm.
cookout, or this type of thing. Come over, meet
Mm.
your other church brethren,
Right.
and
Right.
that's cool. And then you have the worldwide church, to where, if I mean, I wanted to go when I was in Japan. I wanted to go to an Adventist church in Japan just to say that I went.
Mm.
But a few years ago, I actually went to no, online.
Hmm.
There was a I think it was a church in Osaka,
Uh-huh.
Japan, and they had like a message board. So I was able to just go in there. I think it was like the night before my birthday, or somewhere around my birthday that year, and I'm just like, hey, greetings from
Yeah.
America type thing, and
Uh,
it's just the worldwide church. Oh, you're
mhm.
Adventist. Oh, cool, 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 cool. Oh, you're Catholic. Oh, cool, 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 cool. And I feel like that's something that does bind a lot of people. Uh, I've met people who say, "Oh, I'm Catholic, but I don't really go to church."
Mhm.
But just the fact that they consider themselves Catholic is like, "Oh, well,
I'm a
I
member
was
of, yeah.
born and raised Catholic. Why don't you go to church anymore? Hey, you want to sit with us at lunch?" And just that commonality, finding that common
Right.
ground.
Right, right, right.
Like
Like
another
that.
big thing is language.
Mhm. Okay,
Love,
language does matter. Yeah, yeah. All right, taking it
yeah,
back.
love learning languages.
Mhm.
Just to be able to say,
So
hi, my name is, in someone else's language. You go, okay, we're right here for right now.
yeah. Now, when you say okay, language binds us. That reminds me of my first experience with hearing several different languages. I don't
Mm,
know if you remember on it was like Windows 95 or 98.
jeez.
Um, that first, oh man, what was that encyclopedia called? Like that was built in. I'm gonna think of the name after. It was on a CD. Had it on a CD, and there was like a little
Britannica?
game. Was it
Oh no.
Encyclopedia Britannica? Nah, nah.
I mean, that was one of the biggest names in encyclopedias.
Yeah, it sure was. We had the knockoff in the house, but
Mm,
Encyclopedia Britannica was the one that you could, um, like you see it on TV, you see like commercials of it and everything. But
mm,
the CD, this computer electronic version of uh, of the dictionary was really interesting because um, you could listen to like greetings in every language. You could play it back. It was like my first time with the Rosetta Stone type thing. I knew how to say it in Russian. I knew how to say it in like Hindi. Just different greetings in different languages. So yeah, actually using that with other people and interacting with other people, like yeah, language has helped me to connect and has kind of bound me to the people of Japan. Obviously, I've been here for, I mean, more than a third of my life speaking their language. And if I couldn't speak their language, yeah, I would feel like an outsider. I'd feel, ostracized. Well, not ostracized, but I wouldn't feel like connected the way that I do, like this, you know? Um, yeah. So, I would respond to that by saying that language helps to bind us. Church helps to bind us. Um, a commonality of experiences. These could be something like, um, school. All right, that's the other big one, but it really depends on the person. How school, how connected you feel at school. I know that a big issue in Japan is that conversation around like bullying, right? Feeling included in the group or not feeling included in the group. Um, there's always someone on the margin that doesn't necessarily have that connection or, you know, isn't quite as close to everyone else for a number of reasons. It could be they have different shoes. It could be they live on a different street. It could just be that they look different, slightly different, long hair, short hair. Um, Kids have, any number of reasons to, um, exclude sometimes. But yeah, that's another area where people do feel connected. I'd say here in Japan, again, just to give you guys perspective, and, this is the People's Champ, but as an adult, I see a lot of people that still have a connection with their like high school friends, their junior high school friends, their elementary school friends. Just okay, yeah, I'm meeting up with my elementary school friends for lunch. Are you serious? And you still have a connection with them? I don't even remember what their names were.
that far back
Um,
though?
yes, that far back. Seriously, that far
Wow.
back. Like, yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember a few names. I'm not going to put anybody out there, but
Mm,
yeah, I don't know how to connect to them. If I didn't have Facebook, this is before Facebook. People were still connecting to. Oh
dang.
yeah, I took calligraphy with that person back in elementary school, and
Oh,
you haven't
chill. I
gone to
went
the
to
same
cram
school
school with.
since. Like, yeah, we went to cram school together. This person
Oh
sat
gosh.
next to you. That close with them? Like, why? How? Like, what did you do? Because frankly, I don't remember in detail, the character of most of my elementary school friends. Yeah, my best friend, closest friend. But why did we become close friends? I don't even know. You know, what's so we got education, we
Mhm.
got church, we got
Twitch.
blood, the blood that binds us, and
Oh,
we got
oh, so
language.
here's one that kind of taps into both of those.
Mm.
church and blood. So you've heard the adage, blood is thicker than water,
Yeah.
right? What does that mean?
Every time I hear that, I just, what is what is that supposed to mean? Blood is thicker than water. You are right. It is. So family is supposed to be closer than your water connected people.
Mm,
Like,
okay,
what does it
stick a
mean?
pin right there. Stick a pin right there. Because people people say blood is thicker than water, and they try to make it seem like, oh, um, your family's supposed to have your back, right?
Yeah.
But that's an extremely truncated version
Mm.
of the whole saying. And the whole saying actually means the opposite. So
See?
it's literally of no, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
That's the whole thing? It's
Yes.
actually, is that a
Yeah,
biblical
it's
verse?
it's
Is that a
crazy, right?
biblical verse?
It's like, oh yeah, blood is thicker than water, so you got to stick by your family. It's like
Ooh, one more time.
people
One more
say
time.
that.
I don't mean to make you repeat yourself, but
No, no, no,
uh,
no. Go ahead,
that,
go ahead. So the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
okay.
So when people say like friends are the family you choose, or we say that we're entering into a covenant with God,
Mm, mm, mm.
those are the things that I don't want to say, they're supposed to supersede your family, but
It's supposed
if
to
those are the
supersede
connections,
your family. That's what he's saying, folks. Let's
chill
translate.
out. Look at that. All the rage in the comment section.
I'm just saying, but that's exactly what it means. All right, the
But
blood of
that's
the
what it means.
covenant is
But it's
thicker
not
than the
it's not
water
saying
of the
that
womb. You got it.
it's superseding your family, but it's like these are the connections that you get to choose
Exactly.
versus the ones that you're born with.
Stuck with.
Yeah, because not everybody has the best family life. You have
Mm,
some family that's just toxic.
yep.
And you don't want to say, oh, the blood is thicker than water. It's like, okay, I guess I have to stick with them and I have to get abused by them and they have to use me. It's like, not necessarily.
Not at all. Not at all. That's
So you just brought that to mind. Um,
mm,
so I mean, I guess we can move on from this one because I see that
mhm.
we're here for a long time. So one of the other things that came up was what's called the Code of Hammurabi.
Mhm.
If you heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, right?
Yeah,
Um,
sounds
so give
familiar.
me, it sounds familiar.
Yeah. I mean, no, that's
Uh,
biblical. That's biblical. I am nine tooth for tooth. So the Bible referred to Hammurabi's code as far as I'm concerned. But go ahead.
yeah, yeah. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on Hammurabi's Code.
Hmm. Like law. That
I mean, Hammurabi's law,
yeah. I mean,
based on how it's brought up from the standpoint of the author.
right. You know, like laws do make society work better. You know, stricter laws are things that you would have seen like earlier on in history. Allowing the law to sort out issues is it's something that we in our modern times kind of take for granted, but in early humanity, I mean, they're looking on too. If you steal one of my chickens, like either I'm gonna go do something back, or if there's some kind of law in place or an understanding amongst the community, then um, I'll let that community decide how things are supposed to go.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, by having a common set of beliefs, this intangible but very clearly evident set of beliefs or set of rules, that's how we operate.
mm.
And there's a verse on that too. I need to touch that verse. So I'm gonna hand.
Matthew, you're talking about Matthew 5:38.
Nah, no. Oh, go ahead.
That's
If you're going,
the one that hints there.
If you're going to mention, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to throw that out there. Matthew 5:38. It reads, "Ye have heard that it hath been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth." So Jesus is preaching to people saying, like, you've heard it said this way. But I say to you that you resist evil. But whosoever smite you on thy right cheek, turn him the other also. So this Hammurabi's code, the Code of Hammurabi, was a list of, if this happens, then this should be the punishment. So if and this brings in a hierarchy of people, because the punishments differ based on who you are in society. So it states a superior man. If a superior man is fighting another superior man, and one superior man injures the eye of the other to the point of blindness, then the first superior man should lose their eye also. And then it goes on to say, if it happens to a peasant, and then the slave of a superior man.
Right.
So there's like few different hierarchies. Like usually it's an equal punishment for superior men, and then it's less for a peasant, and then less for the slave of a superior man. So I just wanted to highlight on the hierarchy of that, because we're going to hit on something else also. But you said that you have another verse.
I'm just gonna put it out there. It's 2 Tim chapter 2, and this is, it kind of supports what I was explaining in terms of the rules and following the rules and expecting that if you follow the rules, the right thing is going to happen. You're going to have a righteous result for that. So it's chapter 2, verse 4 of 2 Timothy, and it says, "No one serving as a soldier gets involved in civilian affairs. He wants to please his commanding officer." And I hate to take this out of context. I can go. All right, let me go with the whole paragraph, so it's not just like, So you then, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus, and the things you have heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, entrust them to reliable men who will also be qualified to teach others. Endure hardship with us like a good soldier of Christ Jesus. No one serving as a soldier gets involved in civilian affairs. He wants to please his commanding officer. Similarly, if anyone competes as an athlete, he does not receive the victor's crown unless he competes according to the rules.
Yep.
Okay. So, and then it goes into our agriculture piece, but, the hardworking farmer should be the first to receive a share of the crops. Reflect on what I'm saying, for the Lord will give you insight into all of this. Okay, so reflect on these words, son of man. All right. And then we'll get back to your next point. But, it is what it is in terms of like, these are the rules. If you follow the rules, then you're supposed to reap the benefit of that. So reap and you shall sow. All right. Knock and the door shall be open. Like,
oh yeah, like a few different verses there.
Yeah, it'll bring it to remembrance.
Yeah. So the thing about Hammurabi's code is that Hammurabi basically stated these things so that people could, hopefully, if they're following the rules, there's always justice. But a lot of other people after, Hammurabi's code, this is a Babylonian ruler who's stating that the gods gave him this revelation. But people, even nowadays, it's like, oh, eye for an eye or tooth for a tooth. If they do wrong to me, then I'm going to do wrong to them.
Yeah.
But the Bible says in Romans 12:19,
get that right.
Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, "It is mine to avenge; I will repay," says the Lord. So many people have heard it said, "Vengeance is mine," says the Lord. And that's something that we don't want to take into our own hands. And yes, it's good to fight for justice and to want justice.
Right.
But at the same time, oppressing the oppressor is not justice. And that has to be said, because a lot of people just want other people to hurt the way that they've been hurt.
And yeah, you're just running in circles at that point. As soon as the pressure is off, that person is going to remember, the person that you oppressed is going to remember the time that you oppressed them. And without a better way, they're going to oppress you right back, and you're going to go run around in circles.
Yeah.
We've seen that played out throughout history,
All right. So now we have the Declaration of Independence is kind of opposed to the Hammurabi Code. And I feel like the author brought this up in just juxtaposition, having two radically different things so that you can see the differences highlighted even more so. So in the Declaration of Independence, first off, it was a Christian inspired document. The name of God is in it. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal by God.
There you go.
And it's a little bit different because we see this hierarchy in the Hammurabi's Code. Like superior man, peasant, slave.
Right.
But in the Declaration of Independence we see everybody as created equal, which had to be amended multiple times because, Black people were seen as property.
Yeah.
But, we're not going to get into that until Juneteenth this year. Tune in for a special Juneteenth.
On Cross Culture.
On Cross Culture. I mean, I'm going to have to do another one. I did one last year. I feel like I'm going to have to do another one because it's going to be the first year I get the day off. So I'm going to observe it,
You're taking the day off?
No. Actually, it was deemed a national holiday by Joe Biden just this past year. But I work technically for a school system, so their holidays have to be approved before. So a lot of the county and state workers did get that day off once it was announced. But because I work for a school system, stuff has to be approved ahead of time. So it has been approved for 2022. So it'll be the first year that I will be taking what is known as Black Independence Day or Juneteenth off.
And go ahead and tell my audience, that are over here in Japan, what day Juneteenth is.
Okay.
Declare
if you want to know a little bit more in depth, because I'm going to run through it. I do have a video about it. It's somewhere on my channel. I can't tell you exactly where. Go through the videos and you'll see it. Shameless plug.
Go ahead.
But Juneteenth or June 19th. I can't remember the exact year right now. I think it was 1779, I want to say, because it was
18,
years.
18.
18?
It can't be 17 because that's before the war. I mean, come on. 1800s.
Too true. I'm thinking of the Declaration of Independence here. Sorry. But it was 3 years after the war had ended that the last slaves were freed from Texas.
Yes.
So this wasn't a thing of, the Pony Express wasn't running well. People knew that the war was over. And they decided to not tell the slaves and not live like the war was over. Not to be confused with some slaves who had become free who chose to stay with their previous masters, because that is a whole separate issue. But these were people who were kept against their will and not told of their freedom. And it took 3 years for the last remaining pocket of slaves to be freed. And it had to be done with military force.
Yes.
This pretty egregious, for people to think of other people, first off, as property. But for it to just be done, like, you lost. Bow out gracefully, give the people their freedom. But no, they chose to keep them in servitude and just try to get as much labor out of the slaves as they could until military force did get sent upon them. So there is a more in-depth, fact checkable version. I don't know everything. 1865. 1865. Really?
Yeah, 65. So the war was 1861 to 65.
To 65. So it was 68 then, because the Emancipation Proclamation
61 to 64.
61 to
64. And then the following year.
It was the following year?
Well, Emancipation Proclamation was 1864.
4?
4. I thought it was 4.
I thought it took more than a year for after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation
to get it done. Yeah, that's why it's the next year, 1865.
It was the next year,
right? When you had military action go down there to, I think, Galveston, Texas.
Galveston, yeah.
Then, right, and then the following year is the first year that we celebrated it there, and it was called Jubilee Day.
Jubilee, yeah.
We all know that Jubilee is a corny X-Men, so instead.
Oh, that's crazy about you, though. That's crazy.
Sounds better than Jubilee.
But the thing about it is that it's a biblical thing, the year of Jubilee. It's literally, it goes based on sevens, and it's 7 times 7 equals 49, and that's the year of Jubilee. That's when, like, all slaves are freed. So it has a biblical connotation. It's not just like Jubilee, okay?
Jubilee.
Party. No, it's grounded in, the religion that was thrust upon them.
7 times 7?
7 times 7. 49. The 49th year is the year of Jubilee.
After 49 years, all slaves were set free?
Yes. Bible? So even if you just came into servitude, you were set free the following year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not like you had to be there 49 years working. No, it was a kind of like the way that we keep track of the years now. This is the year 2022. Nobody disputes it. Right. It was just like, from the time that this decree was given, 49 years have passed. Therefore, it's the year of the Jubilee. Period.
Okay. Good reason to name it that, but
yeah, but you don't like it. It sounds corny to you.
I mean, because Jubilee is corny. She is like, come on now. She was corny. She couldn't do nothing. That's all she could do was fireworks. Like, I mean, Stan
but
Lee.
She was supposed to be the type of every teenager. Somebody that could be related to. She couldn't control her powers. She was angsty. She, couldn't really gel. And that was supposed to be the character for teenagers, especially those going through puberty.
She didn't know how to dress.
Puberty and adolescence.
Yeah. She didn't know how to dress. She didn't know how to control her powers.
Yo, leave her raincoat alone, right?
Bright yellow raincoat, pink shades, and all she could do was fireworks. And those fireworks didn't hurt nobody. They just hurt your eyes like a solar flare or something. Even
Krillin got by, bro. Even Krillin got by.
Honestly, like, the other X-Men movies, like the more recent X-Men movies, did kind of show that part of all of the X-Men. I can't really control my powers that well, blah
Hmm.
blah blah. You know, they played that whole thing out, you know, and fit. But like for Jubilee in her time, she was corny. All right, needs to stop.
Oh, gosh.
All right,
I mean, yeah, I guess so.
but I digress.
Yeah. Poor Jubilee. You know, they're remaking the original X-Men, the 90s X-Men TV show. They're remaking it, and they're gonna make Jubilee. I think she's supposed to be Asian American, so they're gonna fix up her features a little bit to denote that a little more. You know, as far as inclusion goes, you know, because representation matters. I don't care who you are.
It does. It does. Are they gonna, you know, roll them into the ICU properly now? Or ICU, not
Ooh.
ICU, MCU.
Ooh, I hope
Roll
not.
them into the ICU. They're about that old,
No.
right? Go ahead.
I think there was still some issues between Disney and Marvel Studios. Even though they own them, they still had some certain rights. So it's like, well, you're not getting this. I mean, even think about it. Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man video games.
Spider-Man.
Like,
Period.
they don't have the rights to movies anymore, exclusively anyway. But yeah, so it could just be tied up in bureaucracy.
But I mean, I would have thought that X-Men, and this is just pure speculation, but 20th century Fox, you know, would have control over that, because that's the only place we saw X-Men coming up was on Fox, you know.
Yeah, but that would mean that it would be an animated universe, not the yeah. So it'd still be different, you know.
Yeah, man,
but
they need to get it together.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. Jumping back to the Hammurabi Code versus the Declaration of Independence, one big question comes across: created or evolved? You know, the author of the book actually gave a biologically non-religious reading of the Declaration of Independence. Sorry. And that's the part that he said most people are going to squirm in their seats, because it was saying, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are not evolved equally. You know, things like that. And I was just like, oh. So the general bias, I guess, of the Declaration of Independence, I swear I can speak, is that
don't worry. Go ahead.
We're created. Yes. And not all people believe that. You know, not all people believe in a Heavenly Father who breathed life into. But our country was founded on those beliefs.
Right.
You know, so it brings up that whole thing, and I've mentioned it on stream before, that if you're created, then there's this thought of like somebody had to have been intricate and integral in your design, not that it is an accident. If we evolved, then we evolved from protozoa, eventually into monkeys, eventually into, you know, Cro-Magnons, eventually into Homo sapiens. But if we're created, then our lineage is that of kings, you know, is that of divinity. It's not crawling out of the muck and finally realizing we have lungs. So, I mean, that's how I see it. You have any 2 cents to put in?
Yeah. the story of evolution versus the story of creation. We touched on it before.
Mhm.
Neither one, we can just clearly just say, all right, we can verify this with evidence. Just in an objective way. I don't think that we're capable of doing that at this point. Not by our senses or anything. But there is a lot of evidence regarding the way things change over time. There's the fossil record that isn't the fossils themselves aren't explained in the Bible. They don't mention anything about fossils. And knowing about fossils, if you could make a case out of knowing about these fossils and learning about the history of man, that so this is a better way to live our lives, then I'm open to that conversation. But yeah, I keep the two very separate. I think there's a liberal kind of Christian approach to the whole evolution thing, where it's just like, all right, maybe God used evolution, to get us where we are, and that way, they're not battling. The two sides aren't really battling to
Yeah.
um, give you understanding, but in fact, just trying to explain the same thing from different angles.
Mm.
It seems like that's convenient to say in order to understand both sides,
Mm.
in order to read through both sides. But yeah, I mean, if you take some of the biblical stuff like really, really seriously, like scientifically, then you're really confused. Like that just doesn't seem like it. They're living in the same world that we do. And if you take the scientific stuff like extremely seriously, then it leaves you with these question marks as to how to live your life. So
Mm.
you know, I would just pray for discernment of which one to roll with when you need to. It sounds like a convenient thing, but you know, um, everybody's living their life. So what else are you going to do? I'm going to live in an inconvenient way that it doesn't give me direction in life
Mm.
as a normal person, or yeah, or just go with what kind of just makes sense. You know, that's my take on it.
I kind of see it the same way, or well, you hit on it a little bit. And to me, I've always loved science. Like
Mm,
for a very long time, for most of my life, I just really gravitated towards science.
mm,
And I've always been a Christian. Like I was raised
mm,
Christian. I've looked into other religions,
mm,
but to me, this is the closest thing that makes sense. Like I said, I've explored, but I don't see the two as mutually exclusive at all. And I believe that dinosaurs roamed the earth because we can't discredit, what's been found.
right, but
Unless people are
How long?
going out to make fakes.
Yeah, you
But
know.
at the same token, I I definitely said I definitely can say that evolution in and of itself is not anti Christian. Um, it's the
Mm,
macro evolution. So the thing or the belief that something, one organism born of two parents will have a completely different organism, you know. So
well,
we'll reproduce into a completely different organism.
slightly different is
Well,
the
see,
idea.
slightly different would give
There's a
us micro evolution. So like
right.
my daughter taking my features and my wife's features, that's
Mm,
micro evolution.
yeah.
But for for my, like, if my
All
daughter
evolution takes
sprouted
place.
wings or something like that, that's
No,
that's
no,
a
no.
bit out there.
The idea is that you know evolution. It doesn't take macro evolution. There's no big changes, but
Mm,
a million little changes over a million years is the idea. That's what it's saying, which means that history has to be a lot longer than the 6,000 years is basically like the history that we have in the Bible, like
mm,
6,000 or so. It's not long enough to to explain the scientific record. The Anthropocene period is seen as the last 10,000 years, give or take, 1,000 or so, but basically you got 12,000 to 10,000 years of human Homo sapien type history, like from the agricultural revolution. And when you look at leaving the garden, Adam and Eve leave the garden and start doing the agriculture. Like if that happened 12,000 years ago, or 10,000 years ago, then the biblical records kind of, it can be used as a guide to get us to where we are.
mm.
I don't know how to explain scientifically how you got people living 900 something years. I don't get that. Scientifically, I can't get that. I can get he lived a really long time. If you said that, bong, we good to go. If you look at that in kind of a more, figurative way, and you say exactly this man Noah lived 964 years, and it's like, how, you know, I
Mm.
don't know, bro. Um, but yeah, so yeah, we look at the history of agriculture, and we look at the things that affected the people in early biblical days. Um, that did affect people. Um, in all of the kind of early civilizations, in that area, Mesopotamia and this, that, and the other. It all lines up. Um, if you if even if you take the Bible and just say, you know what, there's probably a lot of time elapsed, and this is an interpretation. You can take it as you want, but we say a lot of time elapsed between creation of man and let us make man in our image, right? All right, you know what I'm talking about? All right.
No,
I
that's,
just
you have it backwards. God would have had to say, "Let us create man in our own image" before creating man.
You got it in the beginning, creates heaven and earth. It doesn't
Yeah.
say how long ago that was. That says in the
No.
beginning. And it says in 7 days you got the whole thing wrapped up. I think it was
Yeah.
explained to the scribe, that wrote it down. It was explained to him as like, all right, hold on, let's just take this as a week. All right. Just so your feeble mind can understand this thing. All right, we're gonna explain this as a week. And in the beginning, you got the heavens and the earth. All right, you got this area right here, and you got this area right here. Okay, God
Mhm.
said, "Let there be light," and boom, 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 boom. Okay, He's explaining it so that this person can understand it and explain it to other people. If God actually showed him what it all looked like, in the literal sense, He would blow his mind, literally, and then he wouldn't even have enough time to just explain the whole thing. It's got to be in a fast forward, and He just gives it to you as a timeline. That's the way I understand it, because otherwise, it just I don't know. But on the last day, all right, not the last day.
Last.
Let us make man in our image. Let's see. All right, so the sixth day. All right,
Yeah.
let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds. So towards the end of creating all the mass and big banging it or whatever he needed to do to get it all in place and all the rules of the physical universe. After you got all that in place, now let's create creatures. Let's produce
Okay.
living creatures according to their kinds and livestock. This is verse 24, Genesis 1:24. Verse 26. Then making all the animals, after making all the
That's
animals,
man.
he
Yeah.
says, okay, now let us make man in our image. maybe up to that point, you had a whole bunch of animals and different little, types of sapiens running around, or not sapiens, Homo erectus and Homo erasticus and Anthropopithecus. I can't even say it right now. Like you had all that, but then on the sixth day of this explanation, towards the end of this explanation, and once you get to the seventh day, God is resting. All right. But you get to the sixth day and it says, let us make man in our image and our likeness and let them rule over the fish of the sea, rule over them. So let's, we're going to have them do their agricultural piece, over the livestock and over the earth and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. Boom. You have male and female. Done. All right. They existed on this account of the creation of the world as we know it. This is the creation of the world as we know it, not just like, okay, it is what it is. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful, increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and over every living creature that moves along the ground. And he told them what to eat. And and then there was evening and it was morning the sixth day. I'll put that on right there.
Okay.
And thus the heavens and the earth was completed in their vast array. All right. This is basically how it went down as far as an explanation of God showing it what it looked like to describe that, wrote it down in a different language. And we just trying to figure out like how he was able to express it, and then in the next chapter, you have, this is an account of the heavens and the earth when they were created,
Yeah. What's the Hebrew line of thinking is that you go and you give the general and then you go back for detail.
You go back for the details later about this.
So I mean, but you read it for yourself. It literally says the sixth day. Like that was it for the sixth day, not the sixth year, not the sixth, decade, day. I mean, it's not like you're going like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
But like
6.
one day, but how long really is a day? Like a day in our eyes, as explained to this reader, it looked like a day, right? It looked like a day to him, but like to actually create the whole universe, does that happen in 24 hours? Is there only one sun? Like what are we talking about?
I mean, there's only one sun now. Nobody's ever documented different.
What about all these other stars?
Our solar system, anyway.
That's what I'm saying. We got stars. These are all those stars are suns.
Yeah.
So are we counting the creation of the universe by our solar systems? Rotating. What? Yeah. I mean, that just blows my mind. Like, trying to explain.
Well, I mean, but that it's literally says the evening and the morning were the first day. The evening and the morning were the second day. The evening and the morning were the third day. The evening and the morning.
The morning, not even the morning and the evening, bro. Like
the evening and the morning, because that's when days actually started. That's for the Hebrew line of thinking. That's how it was. The day starts when the sun sets. So the date changes when the sun sets. The day starts when the sun comes up. So it's kind of like how currently we go by the Roman way of thinking, where it's 24 hours, and then in the middle of the night the date changes.
Yeah,
and the day starts when the sun rises. Right, but they went strictly based on the sun. The sun sets, okay, the date changes. So the evening is the first part of the date, and then when the sun rises is the day part of the date.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it is a little different because history is written by the victors, right? The Hebrew people were subjugated under the Roman thumb. The Jewish people were subjugated under Roman thumb. So their way won out. They still keep that that line of thinking when it comes to the date, though.
So when the sun goes down, it's tomorrow. Still.
Yep, because that's what was given. That's why the seventh day Sabbath is kept from sunset to sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Spend that knowledge. Okay. My day starts when I wake up.
Your day starts at 12 midnight.
When the morning comes, that's when I start counting it as the next day. Because otherwise,
but that's not even true. Like I said, the date.
It's not true. I know.
Date
it's
and
true.
day are two different things. Date is the 12th, the 11th, the 13th. The date starts at midnight, according to Roman timekeeping.
Well, that's what I said. You can go back. And
but the day starts when the sun rises, right?
Yeah.
The day starts when the sun rises, regardless. But the date changes for the Hebrew line of thinking when the sun sets.
Okay, hold on.
The date changes.
The date changes, but the day has not begun until the morning. The sun comes up on the following day.
Yes. The morning is the daytime, and when the sun sets is the night of that date. And it's the night that starts the date, not the sun rising that starts the date. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make sure that I explained it correctly.
You got it. And the T's were articulated.
Date.
So I mean that's how I get through this maze. You didn't show your cards.
As far as what exactly? Because you're talking about the days of creation being whether they were literal or there was not literal.
I mean, if you take it in a non-literal sense, then I think it makes way for evolution, which seems to make more sense, from a scientific perspective. If you take it figuratively, are we taking it literally, or how do you?
I mean, I take it literally, but I also don't discount the ability of the human genome. I feel like with certain parts of science, it's more so seen as, oh, it couldn't possibly have happened that fast. That type of thing. Given carbon dating is supposed to recognize how old things are based on it's like a certain type of decomposition that creates carbon atoms, and there's a lot there. But I also heard that it could be faked some way, somehow. So on that specifically, I have to just stick with the Bible. To make sense of it, I would have to see and look into carbon dating and if it could be falsified, just like the Bible.
I mean, it could be
falsified,
It could be fudged by a couple of years, but not like
super
blown out
off by significant digits.
A couple billion years. I mean, and that bad.
I don't know, because the thing is that when you learn, usually when you start learning chemistry, they give you the electrons in any given atom go 2, 8, 8. And then it starts to change from there. When you get into high school, they give you, if you get into chemistry class, they give you the formula for that I think it's like, forgive me, it's the level times n squared or something like that. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I'm in high school. But
Mm.
there's an actual formula to find out how many electrons should be in that level. So
Okay.
it doesn't just go 288. It actually changes. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, carbon dating is thinking that the
The half-life of
the
carbon.
the half-life of carbon would
Mm.
be steady throughout, right?
Mm.
So if there was any external anything,
That wipe out the carbon in.
not even wipe out the carbon, just to start changing the rate
Mm.
at which the half-life comes up,
Mm.
whether it be heat or cold or, earthquake, cataclysm, what have you. Um, it's assuming that from the dawn of time
Mm.
till whenever you find it, that has been a constant.
Mm.
And when it comes to science, assuming
Mm.
something like that can be extremely dangerous.
Mm.
But like I said, I'm not super versed in science to be able to say, oh yeah,
Mm.
definitely want to keep this as a postulate, something that is seen as true no matter what.
Mm. Yeah, I
So
mean, it's just in terms of, I guess, likelihood. I mean, the likelihood that something messed up all the radio. I mean, all of the carbon deposits and all of the different fossils. I mean, just kind of flashed it, and
well,
I
no,
don't
I'm not
know.
even saying that. Let's say that you bury a spoon in your backyard
Yeah.
and then somehow it becomes unearthed and then magma covers it. Is that
Mm.
not going to change something?
Mm.
Things like that, like natural occurrences that may change the half-life of what's actually around that item, the half-life
Mm.
of carbon that's actually around that item. That's
Mm.
all I'm stating. I don't,
Mm.
like I said, I don't know for certain
Mm.
that that's something that could happen,
Mm.
but I also don't, I try not to discredit the Bible with science.
Yeah, I don't mean to.
Because
I don't mean to
no, and,
discredit it.
and
I just
no,
mean.
I'm not saying anything against you. I'm not saying
Mm.
that you said that. I'm not saying, it's just, for me,
Mm.
the Bible is the authority. And like I said, scientists are just trying to catch up to, the laws that were already in place for the universe by God.
Mm. Mm.
So if there is a friction between the two, usually, I mean, not usually, like 99.9999999% of the time, I'm going to gravitate towards the Bible. Now,
Mm.
there's been times where people have mistranslated and stuff like that. And going into research, I found like, okay, people have just been stating this verse wrong.
Mm.
That's kind of where the change will shift.
Oh.
Yeah, because what's one verse? Oh, where two or more are gathered, there too shall the Lord be.
Mm.
People say, oh yeah, it's just if there's only two of us here to worship, then the Lord is with us.
Even if. Yeah.
Everybody says that.
Yeah.
But it's literally talking about the judgment of individuals and the steps that you need to take in order to bring not their sin to light,
Mm.
but their realization that they have done wrong to light.
Mm.
So
Mm.
things like that, those are the
Right.
things,
Right. Don't
wrestle
just
with,
call
wrestle
that
with,
person.
wrestle with.
Don't call that person out by themselves, but where two or three have gathered, then you start
No,
saying,
no,
"Oh,
you're supposed to call them out by themselves, not in front of people.
we'll call them out by
One to
themselves
one.
first." Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then
1 to
if it
1,
doesn't work out,
then 2 to 1, and
right,
then
get the
before an
church leader in
elder,
there,
then
get the
to the
elder.
church. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
what I'm talking about.
yeah.
But yeah, those things are the
Mm.
ones that kind of shift my understanding of the Bible
Mm-hmm.
to what I hope and pray and about for discernment that is getting me closer rather than farther away from a true understanding.
That's deep. That's deep.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not just one thing. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna gravitate this one thing. It's
Mm.
it's it's an evolving faith, bring everything full circle.
Oh, there we go. I see what you do. That was clever. That was clever.
You shouldn't be stagnant in your faith. It should be something that's malleable and changing for the better, hopefully, hopefully. All right. Well, I mean, I didn't throw it up on the screen, but I feel like that's a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah, man. This is.
I had a few other points I wanted to hit, but the discussion just got too good.
Come on down to TPC Japan. You know where to find us, listeners. You know where to find us. We are live every week in your ears. We're also on Spotify by that following Friday. All right, so if you can't catch us and see us, then catch us and hear us. Get that in your ears. Listening to Atas directly before going to sleep helps you to evolve into a better person the next day. All right.
Studies have shown.
Oh yeah. These are facts. All right, not opinions. It can be proven.
All right.
So, all right, it's your boy today.
All right, I don't know who did the research. All right,
telling you to go check on that. All right. I want you to do your own research. Listen to every episode right before you go to bed. Get yourself a pen, a pad, write it down. It's your boy TPC Japan telling you that's what it is. Peace.
And this is Ace of Cross Culture. Until next time, stay prayed up and be blessed.